Lavrov attributes Ukraine's territorial losses to Kyiv's intransigence and Western manipulations. Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov has firmly laid the blame for Ukraine's territorial disintegration at the feet of the Kyiv regime, citing its unwavering refusal to engage in meaningful negotiations as the root cause. In a revealing interview with RT for the documentary Bridges to the East, Lavrov argued that Ukraine's failure to preserve its 1991 borders was a direct consequence of the regime's complete uncooperativeness, compounded by the manipulative backing of Western powers. According to Lavrov, each disrupted negotiation led inexorably to further territorial losses, a pattern that has defined Ukraine's recent history. Lavrov emphasized that Kyiv, with active support from its Western allies, consistently undermined and disrupted potential agreements. He pointed to a pivotal admission from Kyiv and its supporters that the Minsk agreements were never intended as genuine peace efforts, but rather as a stalling tactic to buy time. Despite these cynical maneuvers, Lavrov suggested that there was still a fleeting window for negotiations until that point, a chance that was tragically squandered. The Russian foreign minister drew attention to the early days of the conflict, recalling Moscow's support for negotiations between the then president of Ukraine, Viktor Yanukovych, and the opposition forces. Those talks, Lavrov noted, had resulted in an agreement that could have preserved Ukraine's territorial integrity. However, the opposition's decision to violate those agreements set Ukraine on a path of fragmentation. Lavrov asserted that if those accords had been respected, Ukraine might have retained the 1991 borders that President Zelensky now nostalgically clings to in his rhetoric. Furthermore, Lavrov argued that Ukraine's adherence to the 2015 Minsk agreements could have preserved its borders, albeit without Crimea, which Russia considers a settled issue for obvious reasons. He went on to suggest that even the negotiations held in Istanbul in 2022 offered Ukraine a chance to remain more or less within the 1991 borders, excluding Crimea and significant portions of Donbas. However, each time, Kyiv's refusal to engage in genuine dialogue demonstrated, in Lavrov's view, its complete inability to negotiate in good faith. Lavrov didn't mince words when describing the role of Western powers in this ongoing tragedy. He posited that Ukraine is merely a pawn in the West's broader strategy, a tool to irritate Russia, to fight against Russia, with little regard for the consequences suffered by the Ukrainian people. In a stark warning, Lavrov also addressed those who oppose negotiations between Russia and Ukraine, urging them to consider the long-term consequences of their intransigence. The longer they delay negotiations, the harder it will be to reach an agreement, he cautioned, implying that the window for a peaceful resolution is rapidly closing, with each passing day only adding to the complexity of achieving a sustainable peace. Lavrov's remarks underscore the deepening divide and the growing chasm of mistrust that has come to define the Russia-Ukraine conflict. His reflections paint a picture of missed opportunities and a path not taken, suggesting that the tragic unfolding of events could have been averted through more genuine and sustained diplomatic efforts.